Misconceptions about couples credit. The Your Credit Matters segment brought to you by by rsrdebtfree.com. rsrdebtfree.com. Got it right here on my sheet, and you would think that I would be able to remember that. rsrdebtfree.com, and I'll tell you a little bit about what they're doing at RSR Debt Free in a minute. Let's talk about the misconceptions about couples and credit. And there's a lot to talk about there. So let's get at it. So while tying the knot and starting a life, isn't this wedding season or getting close to it? Tying the knot and starting a life with your chosen person is an exciting new chapter. It also comes with an array of new financial considerations. Exactly how credit can impact marriage ranks right up there alongside major considerations such as whether or not to open a joint bank account and how to save for goals. Sadly, misconception on how credit works when you're married or bound. Here, we're going to demystify the most common ones so that you and your spouse can get on the same page financially and ultimately build a life together side by side. And I will share that next month, 37 years into a life sentence. So I understand a little bit about the keeping that household together. Married couples don't share a credit history. Probably the most enduring false belief around married folks and credit is that once you get married, you share at least a part of your credit history, explains credit expert Jerry Detweiler. That's simply not true. Quote, your credit reports and scores remain your own, whether you're single, married, divorced, or widowed, says Detweiler. If you have joint accounts with your spouse, they will appear on each of your credit reports, but your credit reports are not merged, unquote. Your spouse's credit score cannot impact your finances. It's quite common for one person to have better credit or worse credit than their partner, adds Detweiler. While your credit histories are not merged once you get married, that's not to say that your credit doesn't impact your financial lives. For instance, let's say you're buying a house with your significant other. Lenders will pay the most attention to the lowest score among the both of you. In turn, you might be turned away for a mortgage, or you might not snag the most favorable terms and rates. Your partner won't automatically share responsibility in debt payoff because one person in a marriage typically has a stronger FICO score and a sturdier financial foundation. They might take on more financial responsibility. If a spouse takes on responsibility for loans or family finances, that could potentially lead to problems down the road, largely an imbalance in power dynamics. For instance, if one partner has taken the reins on all things money in your partnership, the less financial savvy one might be left in the dark and not know how to manage accounts should their spouse fall ill. Or if interpersonal dynamics of the marriage might be impacted, where one is constantly nagging the other about their spending choices, another possibility. The partner who has greater control on the money might make all of the money decisions, and the other person has to ask permission to make certain purchases. Have a conversation about money if one spouse is helping pay off debt for the other spouse. Make sure you have open lines of communication, suggests Detweiler. That way you don't end up resenting the responsibility. She says, plus, understanding that you're legally responsible for the debt if they can't pay or don't pay it back. You'll also want to sit down and start by sharing your hopes, dreams, goals, along with any of your concerns, fears, and worries about finances. From there, you can come up with a game plan. Who will be tasked with coming up with a budget, or will it be a collaborative effort? How will you tackle shared bills? What about any debt you bring into the marriage? And how will you save for financial goals such as emergency fund, vacations, or starting a family? Regardless of who owes or pays a debt, treat it as a we endeavor. That's an interesting one. For instance, include the debt payoff within your shared financial plan and welcome any and all input on how to tackle managing debt as a couple. Know how living in a community property state can impact your debt when it comes to sharing assets and debt in a marriage. If you live in one of the 9 community property states in the U.S., and yes, California is one of them, all assets and debt that you acquire in your marriage are shared equally. So while living in a community property state won't merge your credit reports, it may mean you can be responsible for debt incurred by your spouse after you're wed. This could have implications if one of you dies, if you're divorced, or if one of you needs to file bankruptcy. Another way it can impact you is if that money you earn may be considered community property. Even if you plan to use it for savings or investments, for example, creditors may try to go after that income to pay your spouse's debt. Understand your partner's debt and financial stress tolerances. Besides understanding each other's dreams and concerns around money, you'll want to dig deep on the emotional aspects of money. For one, spouses often have different tolerances for financial stress. This is significant when buying a home, for example, as each partner may want to spend different amounts. Another common disagreement occurs when a business owner's spouse wants to take on business debt. They know more about the business, but its outcomes impact both spouses, and navigating that tension can be a challenge. Having a heart-to-heart as to where you can discuss what might stress your other partner out can help you understand where the other person is coming from. In turn, it can help you more swiftly work through matters of debt and credit. Be mindful that people often carry great pride or shame about their debt or credit history. If you minimize your judgment and maximize your understanding, then you'll open up more fully and welcome your partnership in bettering their situation. Most people go into a marriage with optimism, as they should. However, some marriages might end in divorce or debt. If you truly care about each other, you want to be prepared for the financial implications of either scenario. Communicating about debt while you're married can help you avoid surprises or problems later on. If you want to get your credit scores, cleanall3.com, cleanall3.com. Great site. That is real FICO scores. Those are not Vantage scores, FACO scores. Cleanall3.com. And you can actually send that over to our friends at Blue Water Credit. Once you get that report, you can actually use that for a credit audit with our friends at Blue Water Credit. That's a great tool to use with them.